Okay, so what I would like to do is talk to you a little bit about the fact that I am not with you today. Sorry that I'm not here in school today. Um, I unfortunately was given strep throat by my daughter and can't come to school today. So the first thing I want to do is go over the agenda with you. Um, so today you're going to be working on your research. I will introduce the project. Ms. Mahalski is going to help me out and answer any of your questions. On Friday, you're going to continue your research and complete your planning sheet by the end of the block. All right, so your planning sheet is going to be due this Friday. Your final project will be due next Friday. This is going to be in the tests and quizzes categories. It's going to be a 50-point assignment. Just as a heads up, also next week, you will have a 13-question open notes quiz on Tuesday and a 13-question open notes opener quiz on Friday. Right, those two mini quizzes will both review everything that we've talked about this year. So it's 13 questions that review aspects of what we learned this year and another 13 questions on Friday. You may use your notes to answer them, but we're going to do those in class at the start of each class next week, June, whatever it starts, June 7th through June 11th. All right, so let's talk about the final project. The final project, here are the directions. So we're asking you to do this comprehensive final project. Where in the world? Show us what you've learned this year. We're going to ask you to pick a region that we studied this year. So you can choose the Mediterranean with emphasis on the Middle East. You can choose the Mediterranean with emphasis on Western Europe. You could choose East Asia. You can choose South Asia. You can choose the Americas. You can choose Sub-Saharan Africa. All of these are links to review timelines that are meant to help you just kind of jog your memory as to who ruled when and where. The idea being that we're going to ask you to choose one Persia category. So one area, for example, political systems in East Asia. And we're going to ask you how those political systems changed or stayed the same over time. In the ancient time period, in the classical time period, in the post-classical time period, and then in the early modern time period. So I do have some notes here just so that it's explicit. When you are doing Mediterranean with emphasis on the Middle East, for the ancient time period, you're going to choose Mesopotamia or Phoenicia or Israel or ancient Egypt. For the classical time period, the group that controlled the Mediterranean around the Middle East was actually Rome. And then you're going to, when you get to the post-classical and the early modern, shift your focus back to Middle Eastern centered empires, the Islamic empires, and then the Ottoman. With Mediterranean, with emphasis on Western Europe, you're still going to use Mesopotamia as your ancient civilization, but then you will shift your focus over to Western Europe for the remainder. So Roman Empire, feudal Europe through commercial rev, and then early modern would be your like absolute leaders, Ferdinand, Isabella, King Louis. Last note for the Americas, your ancient civilization would be the Olmec or the Chaldean, and then the Maya would be your classical, and your Aztec, Inca, post-classical, early modern. All right, so once you've chosen a region and you've decided, hey, I want to talk about how technology changed or stayed the same over time in the Americas, I'm going to complete my chart. So you would type in the region that you chose, the Persia category that you chose, and then you're going to describe in detail the systems or the technologies that were utilized during each of the time periods in that region: ancient, classical, post-classical, and early modern. You're also going to give us details about the effects of that system or environmental adaptation or technology on the people. Did it improve their lives? Did it restrict their lives? Did it how did it impact society? The last part of your planning sheet is discussing what changed over time in the region, what stayed the same over time in the region, and why those changes or continuities existed. For example, if you're doing economic systems in the Middle East, there's an emphasis on trade throughout a continuity. There's a reason why trade is so essential to that region around the Mediterranean and the Middle East. Can you tell me why that continuity existed? All right, so that's steps 1 through 4, right? Step 5 is really what you'll be working on next week, which is that you're going to be put into a group with other students who've chosen your same region. So you chose East Asia and political systems, and someone else chose East Asia, arts and STEM. You guys are going to be put in a group together, and you are going to create a wee video comparing the continuities and changes in your categories. So some creative suggestions, you could just have a recorded discussion, kind of like what Mr. Stryker, Ms. Mahalski, myself, and Ms. O'Neill did in the fall for Rome and Han. You could create a cartoon or a comic on WeVideo. You can make it an interview. You can make it a news documentary, or something else. You guys are far more creative than we are. So those are the directions. There will be an exit ticket posted in Classroom. Please complete that before the end of class. Like I said, Mrs. Mahalski should be answering questions if you have them. Otherwise, you can email me with any other questions that you have. Thanks, guys.